Hey, folks, this is Blake Butler, Executive Director of the Southeast Hemp Association, back with another Zoom interview with one of our association members. And this is really exciting. Atlas Labs. I have Evan Parnell, the CEO from Atlas Labs, on this Zoom call with me. This lab is opening up its doors in Lakeland, Florida in October. Very exciting stuff. Evan joined our association about 6 months ago, but so happy have him on the call today. So Evan, take me back a little bit. Let's discuss your professional experience and how the team came together to form Atlas Labs.
Thanks, Blake. So I have a bachelor's in chemistry from the Naval Academy. After I got out of the Navy, I spent 7 years working in pharmaceutical quality control, with the last 3 of that being focused more on medical marijuana and hemp in Maryland and the Mid-Atlantic region. Mm-hmm. Bill, my business partner, and I had met through a local community group and found a common set of goals and a complementary skill set to kind of take some of the ideas I had about how this could be done and bring them to fruition.
Now, tell me about that, because, with that experience that you have, obviously, you've thought of some things that could set Atlas Labs apart to make the lab a little unique, different.
Yeah, that's right. I was under the impression that a lot of the labs kind of getting into the hemp and cannabis market were more from traditional drug testing providers or environmental labs. And the approach that we felt was more appropriate was more of a pharmaceutical approach. So in the FDA regulated industries, they kind of, depending on how large your company is, you can use third-party testing to do your quality control during production and clinical trials and research and development. So having been working in a testing lab that provided those services and provided the reports that would eventually get submitted to the FDA, I feel like our approach to treat all of our customers as equals and give them the same level of service to provide compliant paperwork for whatever their needs may be, and work with them to address issues as regulations change and new things come up.
And, that's so important that you say this, Evan, because some of our members are telling me, and remember, we're spread out in 16 states, that some of the labs they use are also testing for medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, and they're kind of getting shifted to the back of the line. And that could be really frustrating because, as you know, we're under strict guidelines with some of our testing requirements in the hemp program.
Yeah, that's right. And with us solely focusing on hemp, we're not going to have any of those issues.
So no medical marijuana, no recreational marijuana testing down there.
Correct. Not for my company, no. When we've made that decision for various reasons, but it seemed like the better fit for us was to provide the best level of service we could to as many hemp clients as possible, to try to help get this whole industry up and running.
Mm-hmm. And you joined our association, as I mentioned, a little under a year ago, and jumped immediately on our lab standardization committee to communicate with other labs and build a nice relationship with them. But what do you see out there as we bring more labs together and develop better standards, better practices? What do you think could be next? And again, looking at your experience with the FDA and where you think we could be heading as an industry.
Yeah, in other kind of analog industries like agriculture or environmental or pharmaceutical, typically the test methodologies and action levels are set at a high level through these non-governmental organizations like the USP or something run by the government like the EPA. And they take the time and the effort and the money to verify and validate all of these test methodologies and really prove which one is the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. Due to the gray legal status of hemp and cannabis in most folks' eyes, even though hemp is federally legal, but some people can't seem to get over that, that effort's just not being made. And if it is being made, they're gun shy to publish the results. Mm-hmm. So I think that this standardization committee with the Southeastern Hemp Association is an avenue where we can get a group of labs together where the ownership and staff are philosophically aligned into the kind of goals we want out of this project, where we're comparing results on different tests using different methods between our own laboratories, just to try to understand what are the best practices.
And so where do you see like Atlas a year from now? Obviously with, it sounds like you're going to build up goodwill and community among labs and for the industry's sake too, so we can see some more consistency as much as possible.
Yeah, a year from now, we want to be a nice, solid, independently owned and operated lab, providing a full suite of services to the hemp market and other environmental and agricultural services that are directly related to the growing and production of hemp. While we're still building ties to the community as a whole, both locally and with the hemp community specifically, and the Southeastern Hemp Association, to try to find areas where we can all work together to forward our common agenda and get some of these best practices put in front of regulators before they write the regulations, so that they're more informed and have better data and build a communication back and forth between them. So that when things do come up, they also know that they've got a set of laboratories that would be willing to help them out if there are some issues at hand, where we could be sort of supplementing their state laboratory system to run experiments or try to test things that got turned in as this made my kid sick and things like that. And I've had relationships with regulators like that in other industries or in other states that are similar, and I just don't see any reason why we can't build that sort of two-way communication with our regulatory bodies in this industry.
And you brought up something earlier when we were talking before we pushed record, of how important it is, since the Farm Bill stops at that pre-harvest, that we start to be very proactive in the framework we'd like to see after that pre-harvest test that the Farm Bill requires.
Exactly. So since the guidance ends at, okay, I've tested it and now I've harvested it, that's it. That's all the Farm Bill says. So what are your obligations as a vendor who wants to purchase the flower and turn it into something else? And that's not really well defined, except in kind of a mishmash of individual state regulations. Some have them, some don't.
Right.
And as those get more fine-tuned and developed, and especially in states where they haven't even been written yet, we have a wonderful opportunity to kind of propose what we as the Hemp Association and industry group think is the best way forward in a mature fashion, where, we're not trying to subterfuge anything, but just here's what we see and here's what we think is the best practice and the best different levels and why and where this came from and that sort of stuff, and really help the regulators be able to fight on our behalf by giving them the tools they need to make an argument on our behalf.
You're exactly right, Evan. As we said before, no one from the FDA is going to wake up one day and say, guys, here you go. We're going to have to meet them even more than halfway. But more importantly, take some folks like yourselves that has experience dealing with the FDA. And now that you've come in to the hemp industry, as we all come together, is finally get to that point where our products are in the supply chain. And most importantly, all those products are safe for consumption. So Evan, thanks so much for your time today. This has been awesome. And folks, I want to tell you something. You can find Atlas Labs right now at atlaslabsfl.com. So members and everyone else in the industry, you have another option now with Atlas Labs, and they're opening up their doors down there in Lakeland, but go ahead and look them up online. And Evan, thanks so much for your support of the Southeast Hemp Association and everything you're doing with the Lab Standardization Committee. We really appreciate everything you're doing for the industry.
And thank you, Blake. This whole hemp association's been a wonderful experience, and hopefully it'll continue far into the future.
Absolutely. And we look forward to working more closely with you and Atlas Labs moving forward. So there you go, folks, atlaslabsfl.com. Look them up now. Evan, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.